I want war with all of you. That was Candace Owens' opening shot, and the moment everything changed. While the world mourned Charlie Kirk's shocking death, his widow, Erika Kirk, stepped back into the spotlight smiling, talking about healing and promoting new projects. But Candace? She wasn't buying it. Something felt off, and she's finally saying what everyone else has been too afraid to. This investigation is being sabotaged from the inside. Candace is pointing fingers, naming names, and accusing Erika of stonewalling justice with staged speeches and suspicious silence. Why are key videos missing? Why did Mikey McCoy calmly make a phone call less than 1 second after the shot was fired? Why did TPUSA rush to repave the crime scene within 48 hours? And why is Erika so obsessed with moving forward, when the killer still hasn't been truly named? This isn't about grief, it's about control, it's about cover-ups, and it's about a man who might have predicted his own death. Candace Owens just dropped receipts. And now, everything is unraveling. Candace Owens isn't speculating anymore. She's declaring war. Her words aren't subtle, and they're not designed for easy digestion. "I want war with all of you," she said, with the same fire in her eyes that made her one of Charlie Kirk's closest and most trusted allies. But that fire? It's now burning directly toward Erika Kirk, the widow who has, in Candace's words, moved on too quickly, too cleanly, and too politically. The tragedy of Charlie's death wasn't just the loss of a rising political titan, it was the strange silence, the controlled messaging, and the flood of contradictions that followed it. According to Candace, nothing about the aftermath feels authentic. From the way Erika gave her forgiveness speech just 9 days after Charlie's death, to the eerie way she appeared in promotional videos barely 2 weeks later. Something feels too rehearsed, too prepared, and that's exactly what makes it suspicious. At the center of this growing firestorm is a single disturbing question. Who knew, and when? The timeline is full of cracks, and those cracks reveal more than just emotional inconsistencies. They reveal a potential cover-up. Candace points to the mysterious behavior of Mikey McCoy, Turning Point USA's chief of staff, who, according to footage reviewed by multiple analysts, raised his phone to his ear within 834 milliseconds of the shot being fired. That's less than 1 second. The gun hadn't even stopped echoing, and Mikey was already on a call. No panic, no visible shock, just a calm phone call as chaos unfolded behind him. Who was he calling? Why didn't he run or duck like everyone else? And even more bizarre, why do his and Erika's versions of that moment completely contradict each other? According to Pastor Rob McCoy, Mikey's father, his son called him immediately and said, "Charlie's been shot in the neck." But Erika has claimed that she was on the phone with Mikey when it happened. Logically, both of these stories can't be true. And that contradiction matters deeply, because it affects the credibility of everyone involved. Especially as Candace points out, witnesses said Mikey had no blood on him, despite Rob McCoy stating publicly that his son had blood all over him. That's not just a small detail, that's a full collapse of credibility. And when Candace raised these concerns publicly, she was immediately branded a conspiracy theorist, something she says is a tactic to suppress inconvenient questions and protect powerful people hiding behind faith. Then came the surveillance footage. Well, what little of it remained. Within 4 minutes of the shooting, a Turning Point staffer reportedly removed a camera. When Candace asked why, she was told the staffer did it to protect Erika from seeing traumatic images. But that excuse quickly fell apart. Candace had already seen the footage. There was no blood, no shocking visuals, at least not in that angle. So why the rush to erase it? Why prioritize removing a camera over preserving a crime scene? These aren't the actions of grieving people. These are the actions of people trying to control a narrative. And the closer you look, the more that narrative begins to fracture. There's also the mystery of the ballistic inconsistencies. The FBI's story claims Charlie was shot with a high-powered rifle at close range, yet that bullet allegedly didn't exit his body. Experts say that's virtually impossible. That round would go through a grizzly bear, one firearms analyst said. The only thing that stops that kind of round is steel or concrete. So why are they telling the public that Charlie's dense bones absorbed the bullet like he was some kind of superhero? Candace calls this narrative insulting, not only to Charlie's memory, but to the public's intelligence. And the repaving of the stage area less than 48 hours after the shooting? That's not grief. That's a cleanup. Even more chilling is what Candace revealed about TPUSA's inner circle. She says someone at the organization received a text from Charlie the day before his death that read, "They're going to kill me." That's not speculation. That's a direct warning. And if that message exists, why hasn't it been released? Who is sitting on it? And who benefits most from its silence? Then there's the foreign connection, one that turns this investigation from tragic to geopolitical. A military plane from Egypt landed in Provo just days before Charlie's assassination. The same model aircraft had been tracked circling TPUSA faith events for years. It arrived full and left mostly empty. Why? No one's answering. And the deeper Candace digs, the more disturbing the patterns become. Mormon connections, Eastern European orphanage projects, Zionist donor pressure, and a swirl of international interests, all colliding around a man who had just begun distancing himself from Israel's hardline politics. Days before his death, Charlie declined funding tied to Zionist groups, stating, "I don't know where this money is coming from." 2 weeks later, he was dead. And the silence from Erika? Still deafening. Candace says this isn't just suspicious. It's sabotage. Because in a case filled with contradictions, missing footage, vanishing cameras, bullet lies, and conflicting statements, Erika Kirk is the one person who could push for the truth, and yet she refuses. Her continued focus on moving forward while Charlie's killer remains unnamed doesn't just look bad, it looks deliberate. The further Candace Owens pulls back the curtain, the more sinister the entire picture becomes. And it's no longer about hunches or optics, it's about patterns. Patterns of evasion, suppression, and control. While Erika Kirk continues doing interviews that feel more like PR appearances than grief-driven testimony, Candace is connecting the dots others are too afraid to see. One of those dots? The disappearance of surveillance footage, especially the feed from a camera that overlooked the exact spot where Charlie Kirk was shot. Multiple sources confirm that a Turning Point USA staffer removed the equipment less than 5 minutes after the shooting. The justification? To protect Erika. But Candace calls this a smokescreen. If trauma protection was the goal, why wasn't the footage secured first by law enforcement? Why was the evidence tampered with before an official chain of custody could begin? That one action raised red flags. But what made the sirens wail was the ballistics report. Officially, authorities claim Charlie was shot with a high-caliber rifle at close range. And yet, the bullet supposedly remained inside his body, never exiting. Firearms experts Candace consulted said this is virtually impossible. That round would have torn through his torso and kept going, one expert said. The only thing that could have stopped it was a steel plate or concrete wall. Which begs the question, was Charlie shot at all in the way the story claims? Or was the narrative manipulated to fit a conclusion that someone already needed to be true. And then there's the most haunting revelation of all. Candace claims a whistleblower from inside TPUSA showed her a text message Charlie allegedly sent the day before he was killed. It read simply, "They're going to kill me." He didn't name names, he didn't elaborate, but it was sent to someone who still hasn't come forward. Why not? Are they afraid? Or were they part of the plot? Either way, Candace is demanding that message be released publicly. And more than anything, she wants Erika Kirk to explain why she's not pushing for it herself. If your husband warned someone he was about to die, wouldn't you want the world to see it? But Erika's silence is only part of the problem. It's her strategy that feels so off. While most widows would be begging for answers, she's asking for unity. While most families would demand evidence, she's delivering forgiveness. Less than 10 days after her husband's murder, Erika took the stage at a memorial and said, "We must forgive." That would be noble if justice had been served. But it hadn't, and it still hasn't. Candace sees this for what it is: emotional manipulation. "If my husband died like that," Candace said, "I would tear the earth apart to find out who did it and why." But Erika, she's smiling in interviews, promoting new initiatives, and urging people to donate to the very organization where all of this happened. Not once has she shown visible outrage or demanded a criminal probe into TPUSA's leadership. Not once has she publicly named Mikey McCoy, Tyler Bauer, or Rob McCoy, all of whom were entangled in this twisted timeline of lies. In Candace's view, this is a hostile takeover hidden behind a grieving widow's face. She believes Charlie was outgrowing the handlers around him, shifting his politics, rejecting donor pressure, and exposing the financial skeletons hiding inside TPUSA. The same week he died, Charlie had reportedly refused a multi-million-dollar donation tied to foreign interests. He was allegedly turning Catholic, rejecting Christian Zionist talking points, and pulling back from the Israel-aligned narratives TPUSA had leaned into for years. Candace believes this ideological shift was the final straw, and it made Charlie a threat to the very people who once celebrated him. And then there's the Egyptian plane, a detail so strange, so specific, it borders on surreal. Candace uncovered flight tracking data showing a military plane from Egypt landed in Provo days before the shooting. It had been seen near previous TPUSA events. It left mostly empty hours after Charlie was killed. Was it coincidence? Possibly. But in a story riddled with coincidences, each one becomes harder to dismiss. The presence of a foreign aircraft near a domestic assassination is more than suspicious. It's unprecedented. Candace isn't afraid to say it out loud anymore. She believes this wasn't just a tragic death. It was a calculated removal. She believes Erika Kirk is either a willing participant or a silenced figurehead. And the only thing that will prove otherwise is total, brutal transparency. Not more speeches, not more forgiveness, but receipts, names, documents, surveillance, a real investigation. And until that happens, Candace Owens is staying in the fight. "The only person who can stop me is Erika herself," she said. "And unless she stands in front of a camera and asks me to stop, I won't." The deeper Candace Owens went, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about suspicious behavior or inconsistencies. This was about a deliberate orchestration, a manipulation of grief, and a cold, quiet war being fought behind public smiles. Candace had spent weeks uncovering secrets, tracking flights, watching security footage, and confronting officials who wanted her silenced. But nothing prepared her for what came next. Because now, someone from inside Turning Point USA was ready to talk. An anonymous whistleblower, verified by Candace's legal team, delivered a USB drive with video, emails, and financial records. It contained a hidden phone recording between two unnamed TPUSA executives, time-stamped the night before Charlie was killed. One voice clearly says, "He's not going to cooperate. If we let him walk out of that meeting, he'll flip the whole board." The second voice replies, "We don't need him to walk out. We just need her to keep them quiet long enough." Her, Erika. That's when the air shifted. Candace listened to the full audio and realized Erika wasn't just passive in this story. She was central to it. The she being discussed wasn't a victim. She was a gatekeeper, the one being trusted to manage the aftermath, to control the public narrative, and to ensure Charlie's legacy benefited the right people. And then came the final blow. Inside the drive was a scanned letter, a handwritten note dated October 2024, signed by Charlie himself. It had never been seen by the public. In it, he wrote, "If anything happens to me, do not trust the people smiling the most at my funeral. I've seen the money trails. I've seen the alliances. If I'm gone, follow the silence." He wrote it to Candace, but he never mailed it. It was found in a locked drawer in his office by Erika, and she never told anyone. Let that sink in. She found a note where her husband warned her about the very people she's now doing business with, and she kept it buried. Why? Candace ended her latest video with a whisper, not a scream. She knew. She knew the whole time. And she said nothing. And now, the cameras are rolling. The public is asking new questions. And somewhere, buried in a Turning Point USA server, there are two more names on the hit list. Names Charlie had written down in a file labeled Contingency. Candace has it now, but she hasn't released it. Not yet. She ended the broadcast with one final cliffhanger. The next name I say might end a career or spark a war. Either way, the silence is over. Now it's your turn to decide. Who do you believe? Do you think Erika Kirk is just a grieving widow doing her best under unimaginable pressure? Or has she been hiding the one truth that could bring Charlie's real killers to justice? Would you keep a letter from your husband a secret, especially if it warned you that the very people around you might be responsible for his death? Why did Erika stay silent when she held Charlie's final written words in her hands? Candace Owens is risking her platform, her reputation, and possibly her safety to get answers. She's not asking for sympathy. She's demanding truth. And now the question becomes, if Candace is right, who's next? We want to hear from you in the comments. Is Erika Kirk protecting something or someone? Why is TPUSA hiding surveillance footage, ballistics reports, and internal documents? Who do you think the other two names in Charlie's contingency file are? Drop your theories below. Share this video before it disappears. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because part 2 is coming, and Candace just got access to Charlie's encrypted laptop. And trust us, the next file might reveal the name of the person who pulled the trigger, or worse, who paid them to. This isn't just a scandal. This is the unraveling of everything. See you in the next chapter.